Sitting down on the ground, Keijuo took deep breaths as he felt the stress of the battle crash into him all at once. He hadn't noticed it while he was fighting, however after finding himself safe enough, Keijuo felt like a ton of bricks fell onto his head. Keijuo stood there for a few moments before a shinobi came and gave him a hand to help him get up. It was the shinobi that he had helped defeat a cloud ninja. Taking his hand, Keijuo got back up onto his feet and gave the man a nod. "I just wanted to say thank you for saving me back there," the Leaf Genin said with a smile on his face. Keijuo shook his head. "It's what every leaf ninja would have done." "Right," the Genin said, his smile growing even brighter. "As if you dumb fuck, if I didn't help you then I could die if the cloud ninjas won the battle. I didn't know the yellow flash was coming, otherwise I would have stayed put and hidden instead of fighting." Keijuo thought inwardly as he sneered at the young shinobi. On the outside, however, Keijuo didn't show any of those emotions, keeping a soft smile on his face. Quickly enough the ninjas gathered and headed to the commander's tent to see what their next plan of action would be. As they walked through the camp, one could see tens upon tens of corpses, be they ninjas from the cloud or their leaf comrades. In the distance, Keijuo spotted two corpses that seemed to have been cut in half, their faces twisted in agony and tears dripping down their chins and onto the ground. It seemed they had died a miserable death. "Yasuo and Kenji, I guess it's to be expected considering how one is weak as hell while the other is a dumbass who rushes into combat," Keijuo thought as he stared at what once were his teammate and captain. Before he turned his head around and continued walking to the commander's tent. After a minute or so, Keijuo and the group arrived at the largest tent in the camp. It had been incinerated by the cloud ninjas and what remained now was nothing but ashes. Thankfully the commander had survived the ambush and he now stood before the 100 or so survivors of the ambush. Next to him stood another man. He had bright yellow hair with a hidden leaf headband tied to his forehead whilst he wore a Jonin jacket and blue pants that were tied up with white bandages at the knee. On his hip, 3 unique kunai were tied and a ninja bag was tied on the other side. It was the first time Keijuo had seen the man in real life, however he knew him better than most people in this world. In fact, he knew things about him that he himself didn't. Minato Namikaze, the yellow flash of the leaf and the future 4th Hokage. Father of the child of prophecy and the guy who becomes one of the strongest shinobi in history. Keijuo thought as he looked at the man who had a soft smile on his face. The shinobi around him stared at the man as some kind of idol, as some hero, however Keijuo had a different perception of him. Dangerous, extremely so. His intellect is most definitely higher than mine. He might be on par with the Nara clan in that department. I need to be careful around him and everybody else for that matter. Hero to the leaf but a genocidal maniac to everyone else, Keijuo thought before he naturally diverted his eyes from the man, hoping to not give the man even the slightest chance to notice him. Shikuru Nara walked forward before he started to give his statement. "I congratulate you, shinobi, who have managed to survive this dire ordeal that befell upon us," Shikuru said first before taking a small break and continuing once more. "We found out about this elaborate ambush only a few hours before it happened and thus couldn't plan thoroughly, however all of us worked together and managed to get through it. We followed the will of fire as our ancestors did and managed to succeed in overthrowing those cloud scum," Shikuru said, causing the shinobi all around him to cheer as they laughed and swore at the cloud bastards who had dared to ambush their camp. Shikuru nodded before turning to Minato and giving him a light bow. "We must also thank Namikaze Minato for his help in this battle. He was an essential part of our victory." And once more, cheers erupted in the crowd, before Shikuru quickly held his hand so that they would stop. However, there is another person who made it possible for us to survive this encounter. At his words, confusion quickly spread amongst the crowd. All of them were confused except one 12-year-old kid. Keijuo had a frown on his face which he quickly hid behind a poker face. I don't need the fame, goddammit, keep me out of this, you bastard. It will just place a target on my back. Keijuo thought as his eyes sharpened, awaiting the next words of the commander. Thanks to Keijuo, a civilian-birthed ninja who hasn't even been out of the academy for more than 2 months, we managed to find out about the incoming ambush and at least prepare enough to await for Minato's arrival, Shikaru said, looking directly at Keijuo. The shinobi turned and looked at where Shikaru had his sights on, finding the young Keijuo, and then they promptly cheered as they gave pats and words of thanks to the young ninja. I'll be taking him under my wing and helping him grow further, Shikaru said as a smile overtook his expression as he looked at Keijuo as if he was giving the ninja the opportunity of a lifetime. Everyone and even Minato smiled, happy for the young kid who had saved so many people. Keijuo meanwhile kept a large smile on his face, however his thoughts differed from his outward look completely. This bastard just wants to keep me close so that he can monitor my actions better. And he's probably doubtful of the fact that I sensed the ninjas, and if he decides to check that out then I'm most likely dead. Fuck. Another extra chapter for today. I hope you guys are enjoying the fanfic. That's all for tonight. Thanks for all the support. Lots of love. Naruto author.